So we start with the presentation?
Yes, we're going to start with the presentation. So to introduce some of the ideas that I'm sure we'll be discussing in the Q&A session, we have asked our second year MA students to talk a little bit about an experiment that they've been running this semester, quite successfully I should add, which is a lecture series that they have been organizing under the topic of interior ecologies. And they have a presentation prepared, which I guess will go up on the screens right now. And here they are to speak to you. They are Camila Perna, Noor Misidenti, and Anaïs Yousefi, which you might remember from our previous block of content. And following their presentation, they will segue with all of us into a question and answer moment. So I would love to ask you all to sort of join us here in the first circle of chairs so you can also share a mic and ask questions and contribute also your own thoughts. But for now, I will pass the microphone to these three wonderful students who will tell you more about Interior Ecologies, the lecture series.
So hello everyone. Thank you to our guests for the great lectures, and thanks for everyone participating in this. So, yeah, thanks. Thank you. So as part of this semester, we participated, Anaïs, Camila, Marine, that is in an exchange semester, and I, supervised by Vera Sacchetti, in the organization lecture in parallel of our written thesis on the theme of interior ecology. So a curriculum that addresses both the response to current environmental and societal challenges and the implication of new ecological paradigms. So since June, we Zoomed, we wrote emails, we made beautiful drive files, all this to improve our work on gathering and finding the perfect guest for this theme. Invitation after another, we are happy to have a dozen of guests, a panel of architects and artists as various as the perspective of our profession can offer us. A diversity that we can also find in the theme of interior ecologies as this symposium showed us. As our first guest, we had Drag Lab for a book club in Rue des Maraîchers, where the current students of MAIA 2 are working for this semester. Drag Lab is an association of students and teachers from EPFL that have worked on opening the discussion and give visibility on gender, parity, and diversity issues within the Institute of Architecture and beyond. During this workshop, or REF Club as we called it, we built on and around conventional academics references for architecture and urban theory. We questioned the legitimacy of references that build and shape our knowledge and practice of space. For the second lecture, I'll let Camila continue.
Yeah, take this one. So when we were organizing the series, we didn't really have a specific order to which we wanted to invite people. It was a series, it was more like, when can you come and when can you speak to us? And this more or less formulated how the events fell. But through a very nice coincidence, we found that when it came to it, that the lectures had some kind of relation to each other, which I guess maybe we'll get to this more at the end, but that there is some recurring themes or recurring thought within this idea of interior ecologies. I think we began to kind of make a bit more sense of as this went along. So the first people that we had speak, we had postdoctoral studies, who presented this morning, but we had Mateo and Pablo. And then we also had Miriam Sawyer, who's a choreographer. So, yeah, luckily we have this space in Maraîchers. We've been doing all of our projects in Maraîchers. We've been running everything there, so we started to also do the lecture series there, which has also offered us a space to think like how we receive this series to become maybe a more intimate space. it was also strange because we have 4 people in our year who are on exchange, so we always are working with Zoom. So there's always a complication of how do you communicate with people on Zoom who are in person, who are not in person. So there's a process of figuring this out. So with the 2 first speakers, we realized at the end of it that there was this really a theme of interrelation and also of rendering visible the invisible. This was with the practice of postnatural studies, but also with the practice of Miriam, whose choreography really aimed to embody these sorts of relationships, and also to make the non-human actor as much as part of the choreography as her and the other dancers were. So this is some moments from that. The second, so it's every 2 weeks, our lecture series. And the second, we had Work Not, who were presenting from Zoom. And then we also had Luke Jones, who came from London. And then with this, we realized that the 2 practices were beginning to look a little bit more about system and constructs which are forming our relationships, or which we can begin to understand our relationships through, whether that be historical narratives, energy systems, labor relations, but really like constructs which, when we begin to analyze, when we begin to visualize these things, we can begin to analyze. And then I'm going to pass on to Anaïs.
This is working. Ah non, ça marche pas. Ah oui. So after we also had lucky to have Charlotte Ruant as a part of our jury, also for the critique of our project in the atelier with Lynn Fontana, and it was also as a lecture at the end of the day. It was very interesting for us because she talked about time as material, but also how she reused a lot of material in our project. And for us in our studio, it was very linked to what we are doing now. So this is a picture of the lunch we had for the critics. So for us to have guests is also to how we host them. It's part of every time we have a lecture, we always this or something always important for us, but we always try to do something. And last week we had 2 other lectures. One on Zoom with Akiko Inoue from Kyoto. He's an artist, but also working a lot with architecture, and is creating house with earth. And his approach to this day was more the approach to material. And we the second one, Alea, who work with mycelium as the partner for every day. So all the project they use mycelium as the material and the object. So this day was very about material and nature. And this is a part of the mycelium they offer to us, so we can try also to grow some mycelium. And it was a picture of a presentation of Alia. And in 2 weeks?
No, next week.
Next week, yeah.
Yeah, so next week we're going to have Rennie Brewer, and then we're also going to have the team who are doing Sakya. Not sure exactly what this is going to look like, but I have a feeling that the 2, although they're very different, Rennie who's looking very much at the homogeneity of cities now, and Sakya, which is very to do with a located place, a specificity of a place. It's both end up talking very much about how we relate to a territory as such, or how maybe a territory doesn't relate back to us. So again, there seems to be, by accident, these coincidences of different moments of people looking at interior ecologies with a different aspect, which has been really interesting for us. So this has been a very short presentation on our behalf. But I guess maybe we should try and summarize what we think interior ecologies has been for us. I can start. for me, it was really interesting to have the lectures today. I think the one thing I battle with personally, coming not from an interior architecture background and not really understanding this boundary of interior and exterior, is having so many people talk about this idea of boundary, this idea of threshold, it maybe not being as relevant as it used to be, especially within practice, but also within design. So I think now this idea of an interior ecology is interesting to think of really the relationships of the interior and the exterior, but how the interior is something unboundaried and such. It's our understanding, our interior exploration of something, or the ecosystems within that. So I was really grateful to have today to kind of reflect on that again.
Yeah. If I could add, thank you. If I could add something we really are taking a point of view as is looking what does exist, what surrounds us, and really have it impact our design and have take it into account in our future work, in our future designs, and that relates also to the surroundings and environment you have been talking just now.
And yes, for me, it has also helped me to reconsider how the relationship for us, from for our body to the space, and also from the space to the material, and how we feel the material and what is non-human. So it really helped me to rethink this and to ask also as a student how we can create a project in relation more to the body and to the nature. So it was very interesting, this lecture series, and also the 2 days of lecture.